Agents for Change Talk Radio, where we do radio with a different style. Welcome to the hottest talk radio show on the internet. It is the Agent for Change Talk Radio Show, and I'm your host, Rob Bell. I had a pretty deep conversation with some of my colleagues at work today, and we were talking about the violence that's occurring all over the country, and in particular the violence that's being perpetrated by the young people in our communities. And one of the things that came up is the fact that young people today have total disrespect for adults. Most of the people that I was talking to were in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and grew up in a different time period where parents taught values, honor, and respect for older people. There were certain things that as a young person you could not do when you were in the presence of an older person or an adult. There were certain behaviors that you had to display as a young person when you were in the presence of your family members who were older, your aunts, uncles, your grandmother, your grandfather, your neighbors. And it seems as if young people today just don't have that kind of demeanor. They are brash, disrespectful, and they just don't care about how to carry themselves when they're in the presence of adults. And the reason why we talked about that is because we attributed that whole thing to the fact that these young kids are out here shooting and killing people, and especially one another, because of that. They have no respect for themselves, and they certainly have no respect for adults, and without question have no respect for each other. And so the violence is being perpetrated by kids who have not been, for the lack of any good word, home trained. How can you as a parent allow a child to bring a firearm in your house or bring drugs in your house without you knowing about it? Just the other day, a young person in Houston or in Texas, I'm not sure if it was Houston or not, shot up a high school. And I believe when they went back to the house, they found a number of firearms in this young person's room. How can you as a parent not know what's in your child's room? How can you as a parent allow children to be so disrespectful of your household that they bring weapons and drugs in your house? You can't tell me that all of these young people that are out here committing these crimes are going to their friends' houses or they're living out in the street by themselves. Many of them come from households. Many of them live right under the nose and right under the roof of their parents. And their parents are so busy trying to be their friends and trying to allow them the freedom that they think they should have as young people, that they are not being parents and not being strict enough to have a better understanding of what's happening behind closed doors within their closed doors. And the result is we have a bunch of young people out here running wild and doing all kinds of things. Just heard something on the news the other day that said that over the last 100 years, the murder rate has jumped and increased in ways that it never has. In Philadelphia, 1 in every 10 guns seized are homemade handguns. And, you know, those are alarming statistics. Just the other day, a 16-year-old girl was shot twice in the Somerdale section of Philadelphia. A woman was shot in the head in the brewery town of Philadelphia in the same day. And so the beat goes on when it comes to these murders. Just down here in Atlanta, a young person was shot, and every day it's a murder or a homicide in either this city here in Atlanta or up in the city that I come from, Philadelphia. And Another statistic that I heard the other day is that the murder rate and homicide rate in Atlanta is 20% higher than it was last year. In Philadelphia, it's 17% higher than it was last year. So what the heck is going on? Well, we are failing our young people in terms of what's going on. We're failing them. We are being too lenient. We are trying to accommodate them too much. We are too busy being their friends. We have too many young people as parents and have forgotten what it's like to be raised under a strict roof, because, when we were young, we didn't like the way that felt. And so now that we're parents, we say to ourselves, well, I don't want my kid to go through that, what I went through with my parents, so I'm gonna be a little lenient. But the result is what you're getting right now. This is a different time. We have cell phones, we have camera phones, we have social media, and there's a push right now to even look at social media as being one of the factors in why young people are acting in the way that they're acting. Kids are being bullied over the internet. Kids are being image shamed over the internet, and as a result, upset about that and going out in the community and committing violent acts, because we live in a different time. So we can talk about law enforcement all day long. We can talk about the responsibility of the schools, the responsibility of the police departments, the responsibility of local governments, and how we want to cast blame and push the responsibility over to other people. But the bottom line is they can do only but so much. Because if they're, and I say they, meaning young people, are your children, they are 100% your responsibility. They're not the responsibility of the Atlanta Police Department or the Philadelphia Police Department. They're the responsibility of you. You're the one that brought these children in this world, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they conduct themselves in ways that don't impede on other people, i.e., disrespecting people, assaulting people, harming people, carjacking people, shooting people, and the ultimate, taking people's lives, homicide and murder. Most of the homicides that are occurring within our community are being perpetrated by young people. That's an alarming statistic, because when a young person commits a homicide, then not only does he kill another person, he kills him or herself. Because once you get caught, you will get caught. You're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. So you took that person's life, they're dead, they can't come back. And eventually you took your own life too, because you can't come back either. You're going to do at least 25 to 30, maybe 50 years in jail. And if you're 15 and you got to do 50 years in jail, that means you don't get out until you're 65 years old. And God knows times will have changed when you get out. And now all of a sudden, you're the older person. And you're the person that's going to have to deal with the young kids that are out there. And you're the person that may become a victim of a crime. Although you spend the last, X amount of years in jail, now it's your turn. And when you out there committing these crimes and these heinous acts, I say to you, play the tape all the way through. Because right now you're just living for the moment because you think it's cute and you think it's fun. Well, it's not cute and it's not fun. All you're doing is wreaking havoc on the community, and you're wreaking havoc all over the country. We as people are not meant to live in the way that we are living with regards to fear. People can't even step outside their houses to go entertain themselves, to go to work. They can't even let their kids go to the playground and play for fear of somebody getting hurt and shot up. What are we thinking about? And again, I cast a lot of the blame on us as adults because we are so busy chasing a dollar. We are so busy entertaining ourselves. We forgot the fact that we have a responsibility to our young people, and our responsibility is to make sure we get them in shape. when I was young, my mom made sure that we came first at every accord. When it came to our clothing, we came first. When it came to our education, we came first. When it came to our entertainment, we came first. She wasn't out there running the streets trying to entertain herself and buy the next designer bag or make sure that she was hanging out with her girlfriends at the club and having drinks. She never did that. That was not a priority for her. Her priority was her children. My father's priority was his household. He got up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and went to work every single day. Now, he may not have been the best communicator in terms of sitting down with us and getting into our heads and talking to us about certain aspects, but what he did do was he provided. And he was the man of the house, and he let that be known, not by what he said, but by what he did. He didn't just talk it, he walked it. And so we had a balanced act in the atmosphere from which I came from. And as a result, I think my brother and myself came out pretty good. And when it was our opportunity to become parents, we tried to do the best that we could in that regard. It seems like that's just not happening anymore these days. Parents just, seem like, having children is a burden. And as a result of the burden, they push and cast aside their responsibility of taking care of these children and making sure that they get everything they need. But most of all those things that I talk about, you got to make sure that these children get love. And that's the big point right there. These children are seeking love. They're seeking attention. They're in a position to want to be cared for, because when they don't get that, their self-esteem drops in the toilet. And when you're dealing with an individual who has low self-esteem, they will do just about anything to make sure that they make themselves feel good. And whatever that takes is whatever that takes. For these young ladies out there, they connect with these guys out here and they fall in love right away. And the guys perpetrate and tell them they're in love with them, and the next thing you know, they're having babies. And when the guys find out they're having babies, they go on to the next person. And the young lady is somewhat stuck with a child that maybe she didn't want, or definitely that she's not ready for. And so as time goes on and she grows up, matriculation to becoming a woman, and she has a young child now, a young teenager, she don't want to be bothered. And so again, that kid gets cast aside, and that person has made up in their mind that they deserve a life and they're going to live the way they want to live, but their children are being cast aside. And those are the children that are out in the streets seeking attention, seeking love, and when they don't get it, they do other things to bring attention to themselves, and a lot of it is negative attention, and the result is a lot of the violence that we are experiencing in our communities today. So we can talk about programs, we can talk about community action and community activists and funneling programs in from the state and the government and local government to help squash some of these violent attacks and violent situations that are happening in our cities. But the root of the problem is right beneath our nose, in our own households, in our own communities. And it don't take no money to love nobody. It doesn't take any money to raise your children in the way that they should be raised, to teach them honor, respect, moral values, and all the things that they need to grow up to be responsible adults. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that. I'm living proof. We didn't have a whole lot of money in our house, but what we did have was love, honor, respect, and we were taught morals and we were taught values. And when we matriculated and became adults, we carried that on. And as a result, it turned out to be pretty good adults. And it's our hope that we move and pass that on to our children. And to some degree we have, because our children are doing outstanding as well. And so, again, it is us that are failing our children. the adults, we are the ones that need to take responsibility and make sure that we kind of go back to basics. And maybe the horse is out of the barn and we can't pull it back in. I don't know. But we still have a younger generation out there that we can touch and tap into and start to put our foot down in terms of how we're raising them. You don't send your kids to school for the teacher to raise them. The teacher's not a babysitter. You know, you don't let your kid go down the street to Johnny's house or Susie's house to spend the night over the weekend, every weekend, just so that you can have your weekends free and do the things that you want and depend on somebody else to raise your child. You don't put your kids out in the street and let the streets raise your child, especially your young men. You know, you got old heads out there that can care less about your boys. And all they are doing is teaching them how to be thugs, criminals, and womanizers. And that's what they've become. And the result is what we get. No love, no respect for each other, young men making babies, not being fathers, young women being ballyhooed and bamboozled by these young men and having babies only because they want somebody to love them because they're not being loved in the way they need to be loved. And so baby substitutes for that. And it becomes a vicious cycle. And I don't understand how come we can't see that. Because that's exactly what's happening. And we are now experiencing all of our inability to take care of business in the way that we were supposed to from the beginning. And now we're getting the result of our negative behaviors and our inability to love our children in the way that we need to. And now they don't know how to love. They don't know how to express their inadequacies. They are confused. And confusion brings a whole lot of turmoil. And that's what we're experiencing right now. And so we need to, again, take a step back. Maybe get together as parental groups and figure out some strategies in terms of how we can pull these younger kids into the fold and get them to not follow their older brothers and sisters because they think what they're doing is out there. They think what they're out there doing is cute because it's not cute. Selling dope is not cute. You know, making babies when you're not prepared to be a father is not cute. You know, hustling because you don't want to work and you think that's the way to become a millionaire is not cute. It's not fun. And as much as we want to glorify that through some of these shows that we're showing on TV, we need to sit down with our kids and separate reality from fantasy with them and make them understand that that's just TV, that's fantasy, that's a way for film companies to make $1 and sell film. When it comes to the music and the lyric that they listen to, it's a way for record companies to sell records and make $1. A lot of these rappers don't even live the lifestyle that they rap about. Some do, and that in and of itself is a problem. Because if you got a young person looking up to a rapper and he's living that negative lifestyle, and that young person wants to be like that, now we got serious issues. But most of them are not. It's just a way for them to sell records, get rich, and make money. We as parents need to be able and start sitting down with our children and differentiating fantasy with reality. And until we do that, we're going to continue to get what we get. I'm Rob Bell, and I am the agent for change. This is Agent for Change Talk Radio, where we talk real and we keep it real. And we come on every Friday and we try to attack the issues that's plaguing our community. And hopefully we can come up with some solutions based on the conversation that we have every week. If you like this video, go to the lower right-hand corner and click the subscribe button. Also go to the bottom of the video and click on the thumbs up button and let us know that you like what we're talking about. Make sure that you share this video with your friends and your family so that we can get this information out because we need help in our community. We'll see you later.